In this video I show you how this accordion style journal came together. Well, hello everybody, welcome to my studio and welcome to the week 2 of the brand new 2026. So what you do when your drawers in your studio starting to get a little bit overflow, a little bit tight to squeeze in anymore? Yes, you start a new project, and that's what I do. I'm gonna start a little mini series where I do use up cardboard that is floating around in my studio from packaging, dried leaves and petals which I have gathered, old torn, worn books with nature theme, handmade papers. This is actually a handmade paper I made myself. That is from a jelly print, old pages. Then fabric or fabric yarn. The old type of bandage, which I also did get in a thrift store. And collage materials. Some hand-painted, hand-drawn elements all around the theme nature, very wide. It's not a study, a nature study book. It's going to be about nature, how I look at it, how I interpret it. So that's what I did. I started by cutting my cardboard and gluing it, taping it together rather, then adding some telephone book pages, which I also lately found in a thrift store from the city I grew up, which is the city of Zurich, and it was even my maiden's name in there, which was coincidence. And I, of course, had to grab it. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but the first thing I did is using it as cover up for the cardboard. Now, this video is all time-lapse because it's rather a big project for making an accordion style book, and the front cover. Now, with no further ado, let's dive into the video. Take care, bye. Okay, here we go. You see another view for once. This is another table I have in my studio where I do have my cutting mat, and here I'm gonna cut my cardboard, which is obviously from IKEA. I'm gonna cut it in pieces of 10 by 15 centimeters. I did edit out quite a bit, and I was thinking about whether I should edit out this part where my cat comes in and plays a little bit. At the moment we have winter and it is really cold. It is like minus 11 during the night, or it's about 28 Fahrenheit. So she stays rather inside and joins me in my studio. I hope you don't mind. Now I'm ready to tape those pieces together. I use a brown colored, craft colored paper tape, which is self-adhesive, which fits very well with the cardboard. Now you see me using this piece of cardboard. Just make sure that you have at least as much gap as the thickness of your cardboard, otherwise you are not able to fold them properly. Now to close up my accordion book, I want to use this green sari silk, which is actually a piece I took from the roll and then did iron in it so that I have a flat piece. I like frayed edges, so I pull out more threads so that I get a nice frayed edge. Now, I use the collage, which is a replacement for the Fabri-Tac glue, if you are familiar with that. It is just a glue that also works well with fabrics. And here comes the telephone book. I just rip out some pages which I then gonna use to cover up my cardboard. To glue down my paper pieces, I use a gel mat. I use it under the paper pieces, but I also use it on top of the paper pieces, just to make them a little bit more sturdy. Where I have taped together my two pieces of cardstock, I do have a little gap, a little valley, and I make sure that I have enough gel mat there and that I go in with my silicone brush just to make sure that it doesn't rip up later. Make sure that you have enough gel mat there and make sure that you press it into that little gap too. Now I had to do that on both sides. So once the first one was finished, I did try it with the heat tool. I went over to the back side and started again. Can you see the slightly different shades of the paper? It seems that some parts were more protected from the light. They are less yellowish than other parts. Interesting. Papers are stick now to the cardboard. I do wipe off any excess of gel mat because I want to have it dry pretty soon so that I can work on. And so I use a heat tool also. My next step is adding some gesso, and this gesso is rather thick. I forgot it somewhere in my drawer, so it did thicken up. So that's the reason why I did add a little bit of water, spraying a little bit water onto the booklet. You probably, if you have a normal gesso, not so old gesso like mine, you probably don't need that. At the top of the screen, I did insert a little photo from how long this piece actually is. You see me very carefully going around those words there. It says grüne Nummer, Numero vert, green numbers. I wanted to keep those words. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, but I thought it was fun. Now that I'm done with gesso, it's time to go to my overflowing drawers and pulling out what I think at the moment I want to use. Is it the final thing? Nope. I'm gonna probably add more and leave out something. That's the way how it works. I go for collage pieces, fabric, handmade papers, and whatnot. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but I did add some of those Band-Aid pieces onto a paper. I wanted to add some colors. I do use watercolors, and I also gonna stamp one of my own stamps. It's still available in my shop if you're interested. It is a little bird. Don't ask me what kind of bird it is. It might be a sparrow, it might be something else. I didn't care so much about being accurate. I just wanted to draw a bird, and that's what came out with that. Colors I used are a potter's pink. I did use a little bit of copper, a metallic copper watercolor, and I also gonna use some painter's gray. Again, I don't care what the bird really looks like, what kind of colors he really have. It is my bird. I can do with him what I want. For his eye, I used an oil-based charcoal and a little bit of a white gel pen. Time to fussy cut my piece. I did edit out quite a bit of the fussy cutting. I don't think you need to see that. This is one of my jelly prints, and I'm gonna turn that into a book cover. I also gonna alter it a little bit. I also gonna use distress ink for my bird, and yeah. I just didn't like the star quite there, so I did use a little bit of distress ink forest moss. As you can see, I did use to glue down a combination of my glue stick, and I also gonna use, especially at the edge, a little bit of PVA glue. Like with the bird, I did use a little bit of vintage photo for the edges. I just like that look. Besides the bandage material, I also wanted to add a little bit of a lace just for fun. Again, I'm using a fabric glue like I used to call all. There are other fabric glues out there for the lace and for the bandage material. But for the bird, I use again a PVA glue. I do have the tacky glue. Any other decent brand works too. I want to add a little bit more, and I'm trying out different things. I have this little rose, I have the button, which I don't use in the end, and I have this specialty yarn, which is sort of a fabric yarn. I'm not quite sure. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you have any questions, just leave them down below in the comments. And don't forget to share so that more people can see this video.